I want to announce the winner of this week's Rabbit Beauty Contest. I love these beauty contests. I think we're going to do more of them. I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm glad I had it. And we had a contestant here who just knocked it completely out of the park. And I want to tell you what I'm looking for, because I know many of you don't know what constitutes a pretty team, a nice-looking team. Here's what I'm looking for. Generally speaking, if you're going to draft 15 players in a best ball contest, you're not going to want to draft one quarterback or three quarterbacks. The most likely optimal number of quarterbacks is two. Because if you think about it, you want to have two quarterbacks that don't have the same bye week. That's important, right? And other than that, you're just looking to get spike weeks from one or the other, one or the other, one or the other. If you add a third quarterback, I saw someone draft Jordan Love as a third quarterback. I mean, I've seen a lot of teams. I've been looking at a lot of teams this weekend. My head is spinning with teams. And I know you're out there. Someone who drafted Jordan Love as their third quarterback, he's very rarely going to enter your lineup. And if he is entering your lineup, that means those other two quarterbacks are not delivering, and it just means your team's not good enough. You really shouldn't be drafting a third quarterback. Could a team with three quarterbacks win this thing? Absolutely. It's possible a team with four quarterbacks. There is no right answer. But in terms of what makes a well-proportioned, well-balanced looking team, typically you're going to want to go two quarterback. With tight end, also two tight end, but you could get away with a great team with Bowers or a great team with just Trey McBride. You eat that one bye week. You hope they deliver week in, week out, and then you eat the one bye week, and that's it. As long as you're getting production from those other tight ends, it can work. But again, you're punting at least 1 week of points if you only go one tight end. So I would recommend two tight ends. When you go a third tight end, that is absolutely more defensible than a third quarterback, because if you get multiple spike weeks from tight ends in a given week, they can slot into your flex. Quarterbacks, you don't have that luxury. So I'm very open to 2, 3 tight end builds when I'm doing my analysis. Preferably, if you can get a couple late round tight ends with upside, either touchdown upside or just target upside and explosiveness, that's going to be the ticket. The best value tight ends, in my opinion, this is just an opinion, this is all subjective. Everything I'm saying and everything about this contest is 100% subjective. It's just an opinion, man. But I ran a bunch of these by, our staff here. Wanted to make sure that I wasn't crazy. Evaluating, wanted to solicit opinions from lots of people. So ideally, you're gonna have an Evan Ingram, a Travis Kelley, a David Njoku. These are some of the best value, most upside at ADP that you're gonna get at tight end. Ideally, you want at least one of those guys in there. It's also, if you get a Kelley, for example, it just ensures that you're not spending early capital on a tight end. There's not a tight end premium to this. So tight ends just generally don't score fantasy points at the same level as the other positions. So those that I saw some teams that drafted two tight ends early. I think I saw a team with McBride and Kittle. That's just too much investment in the tight end position where there's just not enough upside at that position. Then the big dilemma is, do I go 5 running backs or 6 running backs? 5 wide receivers or 6 wide receivers? That's the most common dilemma. And I think the most common roster construction is 2, 5, 6, 2. 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends. The team that was selected did not have that build. There are rosters where you can get away with only 5 receivers, and as long as you're maxing out the upside you're getting at the running back position, I think that's perfectly fine, reasonable, and potentially optimal. Again, this is all subjective. The team that has been selected did draft 6 running backs, and it's important that you happen to leverage the news of the day. It's crazy how late you can get Dylan Sampson in fantasy leagues at this point in all best ball platforms, in all fantasy. The adjustment is not quite where it needs to be. Dynasty trades, Sure. You're going to be in competitive dynasty leagues where there's no way you're going to get Dylan Sampson at this point. But best ball, high stakes, seasonal leagues, the gorilla at the FFPC, you're going to be in drafts where you might be very surprised with where you can get Dylan Sampson. You might be surprised where you can get Xavier Worthy, because now there's now rumblings about Rashee Rice and a possible suspension. I was talking to Howard Bender from Fantasy Alarm. He threw a number out there, said 4 games. 4 games in a total points format is devastating. In a playoff format, if he gets those suspension at the early of the season, right, gets those games out of the way early in the season, then you're going to be a strategic advantage. Sometimes it's a great thing to grab some Rashee Rice in a best ball format that has a playoff system, see if you can sneak him in, and then there's going to be fewer teams with Rashee Rice than other receivers because those with Rashee Rice had this huge handicap. So if you can have a handicapped team with Rashee Rice and then still make it in the playoffs, then he's smashing in weeks 15, 16, 17. Now you have a chance to win all the money. That's not the case with Fast Draft. Fast Draft doesn't have this extra level of complexity where you have to memorize the schedule. It's just total points, where all those weeks that Rashee Rice is not entering your lineup, those are lost potential production. Now, because it's best ball, if your other receivers are performing well during those 4 weeks, then it's a wash. But the nice thing about Xavier Worthy is in those weeks where Rashee Rice is going to miss, those are potential huge spike weeks early in the season, and those are going to count just as much as a spike week in week 16. That's why I'm surprised sometimes when I see how far Xavier Worthy is slipping in drafts at this point. So without further ado, we really need to look at this team, the team that won. 500 promotional credits up for grabs at Fast Draft. Here it is. Third down Dill. 500 credits going third down Dill's way. I got to admit, I was rooting for Delco Dave. Delco Dave is one of my favorite drafters. He's just a cool guy. And, he's emailed me some friendly emails and made me chuckle. And not good enough, Dave. Not good enough. This was subjective, but not biased. Unbiased subjectivity. That's what ruled this particular contest. The Rabbit Beauty Pageant. And what you're looking at right now is, in a subjective opinion, the best looking team. And why is it? Let's just break down why this is a great looking team. Okay. Now you might say, well, gross, Javonte Williams, Brian Robinson, these are gross running backs. And people draft gross running backs. I saw Najee Harris in a lineup I really liked that didn't make it. There's a bunch of, I'm looking at lots of teams here. And a lot of these teams have running backs that are kind of pukey. But as long as you're canceling out the puke with the sex, then you're fine. You have sex appeal with Dylan Sampson. You have sex appeal with Amarian Hampton. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about the quarterback. Quarterback, Justin Fields, round 8. That's where you need to draft him, and stacked him with Garrett Wilson. So a critical element of a good-looking team is, who are the quarterbacks? You don't want to punt too hard on quarterback. I really like the looks of Justin Jefferson with J.J. McCarthy, but that's a little late for quarterback, right? Now, J.J. McCarthy, could he outperform Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely. And those that stacked their first-round wide receiver with a quarterback later, certainly that added some aesthetic points. But it is such a win to lock in all that Fields production. When he runs, you get all that production. You get all those fantasy points. When he throws, who's he going to throw to? Most likely Garrett Wilson on any given play. So the throws from Justin Fields, you get a double up when Garrett Wilson makes those catches. So the power of the Fields-Wilson stacks are enormous. When the Jets perform well, you know you're going to have a great week. Locks in Worthy in the 6th round, which is considered a value given the current news, and then Jennings in the 7th round is an absolute smash. And the reason why Jennings is so important, now I know there's a potential contract holdout. He's not holding out. We know the collective bargaining agreement does not allow for holdouts. And I don't think he's going to miss any time. He's going to do a hold in, And Juwan Jennings is a team-first player. That's the reason why they're going to pay him. They are going to pay him because he is such a hard worker. He is a team captain type personality, and there's no way that he's going to be missing time. At most, like he might hold in for a week or two, maybe hold people's towels, help out around the locker room, but he's going to be there every day. I can promise you he's going to be in the facility every day. He is the dog of the dogs. So if you have Worthy and Jennings, and then you started with wide receiver, Jefferson, Thomas, Wilson, and to get Brian Thomas in the middle of the second round, that's an incredible value. If you had Jefferson, that means you're in the mid to the back half of the first round, and then you'd get incredible value with Brian Thomas slipping and then Garrett Wilson slipping in round 3. Now, he took Omarion Hampton in round 4, and because he did not draft a hero running back with Omarion Hampton, that was the signal, okay, I used my first 3 rounds on receivers so that I only need to draft 5. That means I can use that last wild card spot, that last roster spot. If I have 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends, the last wild card roster spot is going to go to the running back position. And you can see he goes Hampton, goes Kenneth Walker, incredible upside. Now, Hampton, Kenneth Walker, these guys could flame out, and this team goes to dust. But the upside, if things break right for Patrick Mahomes, and he's in a lot more shootouts this year, the defense is just not what it was last year. That's all that needs to happen for Kansas City. And then Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and he got him in round 9. Justin Fields has top 3 fantasy potential. It could go Allen, Lamar, Justin Fields this year. We all know it. Getting him in the 8th round. But then look what else he's done. The easiest way to get upside is to stumble into huge touchdown equity. And that's what could potentially happen with Brian Robinson, even though I know he's not that good. He's a slug. Javonte Williams, not that good. But as we know, the news about Jaden Blue is that the coaches are saying he's lazy. Javonte Williams locked in to the primary back role in Dallas. So this team took advantage of all the news, took all the right players based on all the news that was coming out that was current. He took advantage. With Javonte in round 13, Dylan Sampson in round 15, and Worthy in round 6. And then took the value on Juwan Jennings, knowing he's not going anywhere, in round 7. I mean, the upside of Ray Davis, if anything happens to James Cook, the upside for Dylan Sampson, if Judkins is suspended, Javonte Williams in the Cowboys offense, Brian Robinson in that Washington Commanders offense, NFC East. What happens if Najee Harris just continues to get delayed and all these first-team reps continue to go to Hampton? What do you think's going to happen in that Harbaugh scheme with all these newly minted elite offensive linemen that they have in Los Angeles? Kenneth Walker, okay. There's a scenario where Kenneth Walker does not pull his oblique this year. If he doesn't, just do the thought experiment. Run it. Kenneth Walker doesn't pull his oblique. What happens? What's his production look like? He smashes. Spoiler alert. Then to get Njoku in round 12 and Mark Andrews in round 11, that's incredible value on 2 top 5 looking tight ends. Like, these guys have finished top 5 before, and they have that kind of outcome. It's a straight shot to the top 5 outcomes for both Mark Andrews and David Njoku. You could argue David Njoku, the best receiver on his team, and Mark Andrews is on a team where he is the number 1 red zone option. Now, I know he had the heartbreaking Super Bowl. Assuming he can mentally bounce back from the Super Bowl, he's still going to be the number 1 red zone target. And so 10 touchdowns, always in Mark Andrews' range of outcomes. So with a guy like Brian Robinson, a guy like Mark Andrews, these are not players that are super sexy, but there are live scenarios where they smash in the touchdown category, where Brian Robinson is top 5 in the league in touchdowns at his position. Mark Andrews, number 1 among tight ends in touchdowns. It's very possible. It's all very possible. So that's all the reasons why this was chosen as the best team just in terms of its aesthetics. Will this team perform well? I have no idea. Who knows? I hope it does, but we're going to see how it all plays out. But aesthetically, those are the reasons why third down Dill is the winner of the inaugural Fast Draft Rabbit Beauty Pageant. And this is definitely not the first. Well, it is the first. That's what inaugural means. It is the first, but it won't be the last one.